Michael, if you pay attention to the media, what they've been telling us recently is that we should be very concerned about what's going on in China, what's going on with the Federal Reserve, maybe even what's going on in Greece. Is this accurate?
Well, that's the amusing part. We're still talking about Greece. Start with that and we'll go backwards. Greece has the economic impact in the world roughly of the city of Detroit. Not that long ago, Detroit filed bankruptcy and Michigan was okay. But the media likes to have the analogy it's a domino that's going to topple everything all at once, as if the world's economy, the vastness of tens and hundreds of millions of people working in jobs and enterprises, are teetering on the edge of collapse at all times. That's a silly notion to begin with. The Federal Reserve is kind of an amusing thing also. The Federal Reserve might start raising rates from roughly zero very slowly up to a more normal level, and it's going to take 3, 4, 5 years to get there. The media people were worried about when they were going to stop buying in their quantitative easing, stop buying the bonds. That was going to be a disaster and things were going to crash, except for it didn't. And they were tapering it down, and when they stopped the taper, that was going to be a disaster, and it wasn't. The last time the Federal Reserve raised rates, from 2004 to 2006, they raised rates 3.25% in 2 years' time. The stock market actually went up over 15% during that time. Today we're worried about if the Fed may or may not raise rates 1/4%, and it's supposed to be disastrous. It goes back to what Harry Truman once said to us: the only thing new in the world is the history you don't know. If you just went back to any time in history, this has never been disastrous. But if you don't know history, they can convince you it is disastrous. And lastly, China. China's a very interesting thing. China has been devaluing their currency, finally. It had been rising in more recent years, which means the things we buy from China would be a little less expensive for Americans. China doesn't buy a whole lot of American goods or services. If they instantly stopped buying everything from us, our GDP would contract by less than 0.75%. Wouldn't even send us into a recession at all. And they can only do it once. They can't stop buying from us several times. They can only stop once. But that would be too much fact to get in the way of a good story. China from 1980 to 1995, they devalued their currency versus the dollar by 80%, and the US stock market quadrupled. So I'm not really sure what the historical precedent for us to be worried about what happened recently in China. There isn't any, of course, but again, it's the history you don't know that can get you worried at all times. The media's job is to put facts out there without context, none of which has anything to do with financial planning. Financial planning is putting the odds in your favor of a long-term financial outcome, a long-term successful financial outcome.
So what you're saying is that paying attention to the media in regards to financial planning and money that I would like to invest for my future is not a great idea.
No, it's possibly one of the worst ideas, unless you understand it's purely entertainment and you get some popcorn and you watch it and you laugh about it. But most people don't. The media is very good at getting people afraid and worried all the time. That's why we try to encourage people here to turn off the TV set, go outside and watch a sunset. It'll be much more impactful on your long-term financial success. I'm Michael Rogan, the founder of Rogan and Associates Financial Planners.